Hey guys, what's going on? Jeff here from Films at Home. Sorry it's been a little bit without a video. Life is just a little crazy right now, but I had the chance today to check out a really cool 4K release of a movie that I've been wanting to see for a long time. Today I finally got to check out Overlord in 4K. Paramount sent me this really early. This comes out, I believe, next week if you're watching this video on release day of the video. Comes out in about 10 days. I believe it's February, I want to say 12th. It's a week from this Tuesday, February 5th. You're going to be able to pick this up in stores. I was absolutely in love with this movie. I thought it had some really good qualities. We'll talk about the movie. We'll talk about the 4K video, the audio. I'll dive into special features a little bit, but let's get started with the review. Alright, so let's talk about the movie itself a little bit first. Basically, I didn't know anything about the movie. I knew sort of the basic plot, but I hadn't read anything, hadn't read any reviews. I just wanted to check it out. But in my mind, I was thinking this is basically Call of Duty Zombies, the movie, right? So I'm going in and I'm thinking, and spoilers here for sure, I'm going to talk about the movie a little bit. So if you haven't seen it yet, come back to this review. But I am going to talk about minor plot details. So if you're at all worried about it being spoiled, just wait. But basically, I really expected more zombies and more that type of action. And what you really get is more war action, like more actual fighting, Nazis, basically. There's a lot more of a Saving Private Ryan feel to it than I thought. Like, it's a pretty realistic at times war movie. It is really well done, and then they kind of mix in these creatures, which is really cool. And the only spoiler really is that there aren't as many zombies as I really thought. So if you were expecting a bunch of zombies and they're going to be fighting zombies in this underground lab and all that, it happens, but to a much smaller degree. It's really about kind of the horrors of war and how horrible the Nazis were, and just kind of overcoming some stuff. The main character has to really overcome some stuff in the movie, some fears, some struggles with going to war. So it's a really nice war movie, which isn't what I was expecting. The opening scene, which is essentially the drop off of the paratroopers the day before D-Day, or I should say the night of. It's hard to tell if it's midnight on June 6th, 1944. I believe that is actually what it is. Somebody carves it into the plane at the beginning. But basically, they are jumping in early to get behind enemy lines, blow up some communications towers so that the Allied forces can come in on Normandy Beach the next morning and have some air support, and the Germans won't be able to communicate as well. So that's kind of your basic premise, but the opening scene is incredibly well done. I thought it was right up there with the Saving Private Ryan D-Day scene. It's as realistic a sort of plane in war paratrooper type scene that I've ever seen in a movie. It's really well done. The movie has a lot of great practical effects, which is really cool. Honestly, I read a little bit about the movie after I watched it. I'm shocked that some of what I thought was CGI was actually practical effects. I thought they just had an awesome CGI team, but they really did some nice work with the practical effects. They use some puppets. They use a lot of makeup, different kind of gore techniques, stuff you'd see in The Walking Dead where it's all practical. They use some of that stuff, but it looks really good to the point where it looks like it was done on a computer, which is crazy. But a really fun movie, and I think you just have to realize that you're getting a lot more out of this. It's not just Call of Duty Zombies, the movie. It's a really well done, well put together war story, and I really liked it. Now for the video, we've got the 4K disc and the Blu-ray disc. I obviously checked out the 4K. I did some research online. It's hard to tell. Some people are saying this is a 2K digital intermediate, but IMDb doesn't have anything listed. What I do know is that it was shot at 2.8 and 3.4K depending on the scene. So you're not going to get a true 4K release, which most likely means, unless they upscaled the negatives to a 4K digital intermediate, that you're getting a 2K digital intermediate. And you can kind of tell it does have a softer sort of digital look to it, which is typical with movies nowadays. But I kind of liked the whole experience. I thought the movie looked really good. There are some very, very dark scenes at the beginning, especially when the troops are walking through the woods, trying to get to the French village that they're heading to. Very, very dark, but some really great detail. You can still make out people's faces really well. And I don't think that there was anything that, the HDR didn't definitely improve over the Blu-ray. I mean, I think that's a huge part of it, is that deeper blacks and gray uniformity and being able to distinguish. It doesn't get muddy, it doesn't get all black, gray, it looks like a mess. Like, you can really tell, even when you've got, like an African American soldier who is the main character basically in this movie, along with Wyatt Russell. His name is Jovan Odibo. He plays Boyce in this movie. Does a really nice job along with Wyatt Russell. But as I'm saying, in a darker environment, that's really hard for somebody with a darker skin complexion to come across on a screen like that. But the HDR really helped, I thought. And it really made, a lot of him and the other characters stand out against that really, really dark landscape, which is what makes HDR so great. There's some really nice colors when they're down in the labs, some really strong reds and oranges and yellows, especially the red serum that's kind of passed around throughout the movie really pops off the screen, I thought. And then some of the gore, some of the makeup and work that they did on the different sort of experiments and some of the main characters who happen to run into some stuff was really well done, really clean and crisp. There's no grain really in this, so you can definitely tell it's digitally shot. It's a very smooth image, and overall a really nice 4K presentation. Although I'm not sure, other than the HDR, so you've got probably 30 minutes in the beginning where it's very dark, where the HDR is going to really help. But other than that, it is actually a fairly bright movie, given that it takes place sort of in these underground labs. There's a lot of good lighting and stuff, but it has a feel of, if you've ever played the video game Outlast, where you're in dark spaces, but also like some really well-lit hallways, and things are kind of greenish, orange, kind of creepy horror vibes. Like, that's what you get in this, but it's actually fairly well lit. So the HDR is big in the beginning, starts to lose its importance towards the middle and end of the movie. So I'm not sure how big an upgrade over Blu-ray there would be, but the 4K was really well done. Really nice presentation, really smooth. I really liked it a lot. One of the big keys for me, though, for this one is the audio. Again, the opening sequence, which is about, I'd say, 10 minutes long, has audio that is on par with Saving Private Ryan, storming the beach scene, and especially because they're in a plane. So you've got anti-aircraft shots coming from the bottom, you've got bullets coming from the bottom, but then you've got stuff blowing up over your head, stuff that misses the planes, blows up, hits the top, your overhead speakers in the Atmos track, which is awesome. There's some really nice surround effects because there's planes blowing up to left and right, and really, really powerful when Boyce finally jumps out of the plane and is basically pushed out of the plane as it's being destroyed. There's a sequence where he's falling and there's gunshots everywhere and there's bombs going off and he's trying to pull his parachute, and it's just insanity, but like really great audio. The rest of the audio, there's some good fighting, some really good action scenes towards the middle to the end of the movie, which is really well done. There's some really good music in this. So overall, a really nice audio track. It was a little underutilized, I think, in the lab scenes. Like, I feel like there could have been more, I don't know, ambient sounds. You're talking about a lab with people being experimented on. You'd think you'd hear like more screams coming out of the left and right speakers, or something coming from upstairs when they're underground, or vice versa, like some more sound effects. But it was a little bit muted, which I was surprised by. I was expecting to hear a little bit more, but it's nothing against the soundtrack. It's a Dolby Atmos track, and it's very, very well done. Now, for packaging, you've got this slip cover. Same thing on the inside. On the inside, there's just a 4K disc and a Blu-ray disc, no disc art, and you've also got a 4K digital copy. On the 4K disc, it's just the movie. There's nothing going on there other than that. And then on the Blu-ray disc, you get special features. So you've got a couple different short featurettes. It's really nothing crazy. Just stuff about the movie, about how they did some of the special effects and the creature work and stuff like that. But, it's a movie that didn't really, it kind of bombed at the box office at a $30 million budget. and only made 21 million at the box office. I'm surprised because I thought it was really good. I think it just I think the marketing was a little weird for it, where they were really pushing the Call of Duty like Nazi zombies vibe, and that's really not what this movie's about. I think it was, it's got a little bit of paranormal creature stuff going on, but I mean, it's nothing that like the History Channel doesn't try to prove to you every day with like Hitler's secret armies and stuff like that. I mean, it's not like that far-fetched that there were clearly human experiments going on and stuff, and so really it just kind of turns into this, kind of war action, kind of aggressive but somber movie. Like there's some really dark parts to this where it's like that's sort of the history of the whole event though. The Nazis were horrible, and that's what it was, and it's like who knows what was actually going on in some of these horrible places. And it's really not a stretch to think that, obviously there's not a magic potion, but like they were doing horrible things. And so it really is more of a realistic war movie than I thought. I expected zombie horde coming through, wiping people out, group of soldiers just trying to burn them, trying to shoot them, trying to fight with everything they can. And I heard that was in an earlier script, and then it kind of got reworked and made into this different movie. So I think it was just like a marketing confusion thing. They just really didn't know how to promote it. They didn't want it to seem like, oh, it's just a war movie, and they didn't want it to seem like, oh, it's just zombies, and it was like, so what do we do? I don't know, play on the Call of Duty thing. It didn't really work for me. I honestly was surprised at how good this was. I thought it would be a little cheesier, but it's a really, really solid movie. I highly recommend getting it. Paramount, it's a nice release here. Good 4K, good audio, lacking on the special features and packaging a little bit, but that's to be expected with a movie that doesn't do so well at the box office. But I do think this will get a cult following. I think this will be really popular on home video. And I think, if it gets picked up by Netflix or somebody down the road, I think more people will start to watch it and really appreciate it. One interesting thing to note before I end this review, this is not a Cloverfield movie. So there was some talk, there was talk back in like 2016, 17 that the next Cloverfield movie was going to be a World War II movie with creatures and zombies, and it was going to be like a prequel, kind of explain how all these creatures started to come about in the Cloverfield universe. And J.J. Abrams was producing it, which made people think it even more. It's totally untrue. J.J. Abrams said himself, this has nothing to do with Cloverfield. It's a standalone movie. So if you had heard those rumors, they're just not true. This is completely standalone. There was no after credits scene. There was no sort of hint at a sequel, although I'm sure they could probably do one, but based on the box office, they probably won't. It's just a nice standalone war movie with some, horror elements to it. But war is horror. War is terrible. So it's like you don't need to add in that much to make it feel, unrealistic. Like they did a really nice job with just making a good war movie, which I really appreciated. So thanks guys for watching this review. Hopefully you liked it. Hopefully you go grab Overlord. I think a lot of you, based on when I posted this on my Instagram, a lot of you guys said that it was one of your favorite movies of the year. You couldn't wait to get it. A lot of people were highly anticipating watching this for the first time because I think it got sort of a short theater run, which is not always great. And some foreign countries didn't get to see it. I should note before I go, one thing that I made sure I would do was that I would tell you what the subtitles were. And on this one, it looks like our only subtitles are English for the deaf and hard of hearing. I'm trying to look and see if there are others. Let me take a peek real quick. Sorry, completely wrong. There is the SDH subtitles for English and hard of hearing, but there is also French, Spanish, and Portuguese subtitles on this. I know some of you... One thing to note on the audio, you do have subtitles. I know some people had asked for me to do this. I think it is really important. I didn't realize how many people were watching my videos all over the world, or buying this for family members who don't maybe speak English, or they speak English as a second language. And so this has a French, Spanish, and Portuguese subtitle track on both the 4K and the Blu-ray. So you will be able to, if you speak another language, you won't have any issues there. But overall, I thought it was really good. A lot of you guys are excited to pick it up. I was excited to watch it. I thought it was well worth a watch. You definitely should go check it out if you haven't yet. But other than that, let's do the thing, man. Subscribe, Follow me on Instagram, like this video, share it with your friends. I hate saying this stuff, but it does work. When I tell people to subscribe, they subscribe. So I'm talking to you. Go subscribe to this channel right now. I would really appreciate it. And like the video, tell your friends, and make sure you follow me on Instagram, because I posted this, probably a week ago now when it came in, and it got a lot of likes. So if you want to see early stuff, see what's coming soon, hop on Instagram. You'll see stuff like this. But thanks for watching, guys, and I will talk to you next time.